Okay, and welcome back, students taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications. And we're doing the problem 16-19 for the word problems. That was the only one we had left. So it says here, Don Williams received a memo requesting that he complete a trend analysis of the following numbers using 2013 as the base year and rounding each percent to the nearest whole percent. Can you help him with his request? So what you're doing here is you're going to create another table, I guess, and you're going to label sales and your gross profit and net income. Okay. And we'll have the year 2016, 2015, 2014, and of course 2013. And since the base year is 2013, so we end up taking the way this works is you end up taking the 500,000 and you're going to divide it by the 500,000 because it's the base year, so that means it's going to be 100%. So all of the figures for 2013 end up being 100%. I don't have to I don't have to do the math for those figures because it's the base year. Okay. Now, all we're doing then is we're going to take each and every one of these figures and divide it by that base figure for 2013. So I'm going to take 340,000 and divide it by 500,000, 400,000 divided by 500,000, 420,000 divided by 500,000. And then the same thing with my gross profit, 180 by 400, 240 by 400, 340 by 400, and of course the net income. So just as a quick, all right, so here's 340,000 divided by 500,000. And remember, we're rounding to the nearest whole percent. So that's 340 divided by 500, and I get 68%. We take 400 and, 400 divided by 500, and that gives us 80%. Okay. And we take the 420 and divide that by 500,000, and that gives us 420 divided by 84%. Okay. And that's all there really basically is to this. It's just doing that repetitive math. Okay. So for the gross profit, we have 180,000 and divided that by 400,000, and that gives us 45%. 240 divided by 400 gives me 60%. And 340 divided by 400 gives me 85%. And then lastly, we're going to take the 70,000 and divide it by 50,000. And so that means I have, that percentage should be greater than 100%. It actually ends up being 140%. 90 divided by 50,000 is 180%. And 40,000 divided by 50,000, that should be less than, 100%. And actually, just as a quick, I remembered I did 400,000 divided by 500,000, which gave me this here 80% right here. So I know all I'm doing is just dropping 1 0. I don't even have to do the math and punch it into the calculator. I just know that I'd have the same problem if I added 1 0. That's the same as here. So I don't really need a do that math again in order to solve for that problem. Okay. Now, on a table, I could have left out these here percentages to keep it a little bit cleaner. And I would, if I were creating a professional table, I would put the percentages in this first row, and I probably would leave the percentages out because I know that I'm working in percentages. Okay, and the reason, since this is a trend analysis and we haven't done too much of that, I'm just going to take and talk about this just a little bit. This here is, you translate it, your data here, into percentages. Okay, it's easier to see and think in terms of percentages. It's harder to think in terms of actual amounts. You don't see the relationships as easily, but when you're able to convert them into percentages, it's easier to see the relationships. In other words, from 2013, notice that I've had a steady downtrend in my sales. I went down to 84, 80, and then 68. Okay. However, even though I went down in sales, my percentage of my net income has increased. Right? I started out at 100, it went down to 80, it jumped up to 180, and then stayed at 140 in comparison to the year 2013. Right? Now, yeah, I'm looking at these numbers and I'm trying to see this, visualize in my mind what that looks like from a number perspective. But remember, this here is also data, and most often we'll take that data and you'll create it, some kind of chart or a graph or, a pie chart or whatever have you. I mean, you can have a line chart, right? So if I was, let's take the sales here. Well, if this is 500,000 up here, okay, and this is 400. So for my net sales in 2013, I'd be here, and then I'd be going down here, and then I go, then I go down here, and then I take a really huge drop right there. And then this kind of gives you, because this would be 2016, this would be 2013. Now you have a much more visual representation, and it's easier to understand the numbers. Using these numbers here, okay, is very difficult to be able to spot those trends. You have to really, really be thinking while you're working through it. Converting them into percentages allows you to your mind to more easily see the trends, okay, because they have a common relationship being a percentage. But even so, when you're looking at these numbers here, I mean, I can look and say this is 100,000, and I go down to 85, and then I drop down to 60 and 45. So yeah, my sales went down, my gross profit went down, but intuitively, how did that relate to my net income? Well, my net income actually increased. Why was that? Okay, and so even though you have to think through the numbers, it oftentimes is you take those numbers and you put it into some kind of chart, graph, in order to be able to have a visual representation, which makes it a lot easier for us to understand. The mind works in pictures. Okay, for example, if I said to you dog, all right, think about a dog, and it doesn't matter what kind of dog, but think about a dog. In your mind, you pictured a dog. You didn't see the letters D-O-G, okay? And this is the same exact thing. The D-O-G is this data, okay? The picture here is the picture of that nice little dog, right? So much for my my drawing, okay? But anyway, that's why we do a trend analysis and how we use that information. So with that said, we'll continue on with the summary practice test in the next set of videos. Oh, and if you still don't understand anything, feel free to give a call or email us. All right?